So I was the baby of 8 kids, and 2 kids were adopted in my family. They were actually my cousins that were in an orphanage. And my mother and father were 18 and 19. My mom got pregnant. They got married immediately and then adopted a 6-year-old and 3-year-old. My dad was 19 with 3 kids, and he was working really hard. And by the time I came around, I was the number 6. There was 8 because the stepfather had 2. But yeah, so my father was there. But my dad, you know, he had to work. He was just always gone. So I didn't really spend much time with him. Sometimes I get up early in the morning while he's in the shower, and that's how I learned how to write my name on when he'd steam up the thing, and he taught me how. So I remember that. And sometimes I'd have to be in bed most of the time before he even got home from work at night. And then one day, they came down and said, yeah, he's got to go to the hospital and check something out. And then they didn't let him come home, and they go, yeah, he's probably not going to make it. And we were in a Catholic church at the time, and my mom was part of that Catholic charismatic movement of the late 60s, early 70s. And my dad's client was a guy named Pastor Bennett, who was an Episcopal priest who was the spokesperson for that. The Catholics picked an Episcopal Protestant to kind of hedge the whole thing, and he got thrown out of his church for that in Van Nuys, and he moved to Seattle, took over a teeny church, and it exploded. And he was my dad's client for life insurance. So my mom gave him a book to read that Pastor Bennett wrote called 9 o'clock in the morning. And my dad read that, and Pastor Bennett prayed with him. My dad got saved there. 2 days later, he died at exactly 9 o'clock in the morning. And so God gave us a symbol. But go a day prior to that, it was Christmas Eve. And Dad was going to come home on Christmas Day. And they were going to let him home to open presents and come back to the hospital. And they called about 4 in the morning and said, y'all better get down here. It's not good. He tripped and he's not going to make it. So we all drove down. I just remember they lined us up. Whoops, there was a hallway. Maybe where the soundboard is was the door going into his room. There was a line. We had to stay behind the line, the oldest kids to the youngest. The oldest were already in their 20s. And they went one at a time, and then it was my turn. And they come out and they go, the little one's not coming. The little one's not coming. And I was just like, I want to see my dad, you know. And 2 days later, he died. And I always wondered about that. God gave a sign, 9 o'clock in the morning. He gave another sign. My mom had one life insurance policy on him for $100,000 to raise 6 kids, 1972. Okay money, but she's not capable of really a big income. There was a couple that started a business. My dad started a business, borrowed $34,000. The couple was about 70 years old. They made $250,000 on him in life insurance at 70, 1972. That's a load of cash. And then they're going to sue my mom for the $34,000. So my mom was going to lay a guilt trip on him. And she said in the middle of the night, she heard the most beautiful voice she'd ever heard. She said it sounded like it came across the whole universe. She said it said, read James chapter 3, verse 5, then 3. I don't know why those exact verses, but I do know the entire book of James chapter 3 talks about controlling your tongue. Like a small flame can set a whole forest on fire. Like a small rudder can turn a ship. Your tongue is the same thing. So my mom thought, okay, this is God telling me, don't lay the guilt trip on her. So she took my godfather, who was one of the first married men to do lay priest duties in the Catholic Church, and he mediated. And this lady's in the meeting, and she gets angrier and angrier. She gets up, storms out, stops at the door, turns around and says, how much do you want? And wrote us a check for $4,000. So God was there. My mom obeyed, and God paid off. God was really there. So that's been my faith from that. Whoops, sorry.
Yes.
Getting in the way, but that's been my faith. I've been in any number of churches over the years. I just like to see God's hand work, and I've seen it work. But when you look at my family, half of the kids went off in anger, rebellion, drugs, heavy addiction, violence, and the other half fared better. We're still damaged goods, but we fared much better. And I'm like, why did this happen? So I'm talking to my brother. It was almost 20 years ago. It's 20 years ago this year. Oh, my word.
Wow.
Talking to my brother, and I looked at him. I go, what about all those signs that God gave us when Dad died? And my brother looked at me and goes, God effed us, God effed you, God effed me, God effed Dad. And I was like, oh, he's still 11. He's stuck at 11. And I wanted to know what happened that day. I go, what happened the day you saw Dad? And he said, well, I walked in the room and Dad had all these tubes in him. He passed out. I mean, my brother passed out. Wow. And I go, oh. So now I'm really curious. What happened with my dad that day? So I called my oldest sister. And my oldest sister, I said, Sandy, Roger passed out. I wasn't allowed in the room. What happened when you went in and talked with Dad? She says, oh, Ronnie, you wouldn't believe it. Dad was so peaceful. He goes, Sandy, you need to have what I have. He had the God's peace, you know. And it's funny, you can have 6 siblings. We all experience the same thing. Half of us saw God's hand directly in it. Can't deny it. The other people couldn't see it. But God was still there. So I don't know what you're going through or who you are. We all have different things. But he's there. I'm just here to tell you, he's there, whatever you're going through. So just look and wait and honor him, because he does look out for the widows. He looks out for the orphans. And I'm an example of that. And that's my testimony.
That's wonderful.